honor and privilege to have you here with us at Kebn Radio, sharing you with the world and knowing that there's a message in the music. There's also a message in the work that you're doing right now, your latest book. And we're going to jump right into it, Bishop. The big deal of taking small steps to moving closer to God. But when I look at this book, I think about all of the other books you've written. I'm thinking about Journey to the Well,
yes.
Not Without a Struggle,
That's it.
Swapping Housewives.
Right.
When I look at all the other work, and what I see different about this particular work, I don't think, correct me, but it's not necessarily gender specific, because many of the other books spoke to women in ministry and just women, period.
Yes.
So let's talk more about, I'm going to just dig right in. Why small steps to a big God?
Well, what my wrestle has been is watching people trying to grow and trying to change, trying to put their feet on the path of transformation and just can't get there. So how many times we had someone that says, well, I have this particular habit, I want to get over it, how do I get started? And so most times people go cold turkey, I'm just going to stop right here. But then a week later, a month later, they're right back at it again.
Wow.
I want to lose weight. I want to lose 50 pounds. All right, we cut out everything. There's sugar, all white flour, everything, carbohydrates, sweets. We cut out sodas, and nothing happens.
Wow.
You add exercise, and nothing happens.
Right.
And so what I have found that if we do it incrementally, if we just bite a small piece out of that elephant, one bite at a time,
Yes.
eventually you'll get there.
I love that, and that's an old adage. You can eat an elephant one bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
So baby steps, but it's a profound work. And I think about even just if we just take a step back and look at your legacy. You come from a rich legacy of women who have empowered so many over the years.
Yes, she does.
So
go come on in the room, Mr. Kevin. Come on in the room, because we're talking about
how
she's throwing up signs in the
yes, she is.
Right.
She is not gang signs either.
No.
It's something because you have a service organization.
Yes.
And when we think about a service organization, we think about more in particular Delta Sigma Theta.
Yes.
But when I think about service, I think about even the small steps that we take to make a difference in people's lives. Let's talk about that from a sorority point of view.
Well, from a overall perspective, the question I would want to ask is, what do we miss when we try to skip over the small steps?
What you miss is part of the journey. Part of success is the journey that you take to get there.
Yes,
most of the time we think the end of the road, the end of the rail, end of the rainbow, the achievement really is what you're trying to get. But it's what you learn along the way. When you take the small steps, you're learning about yourself. You're learning about your capacity. In fact, you're building capacity. You are developing, you're blossoming, you're blooming. And so if you try to rush to the end, you're going to miss a lot of small lessons in between that's going to help sustain you. And it's biblical. So go back to when God told Moses, Joshua, Moses, you're out of here. Joshua, it's your turn. And so you will be able to possess the land wherever your feet land. That means step by step by step into the place of promise. Why? Because it's not just the deal is not just to get there, but the journey to getting there. They were not the biggest group of people. They were perhaps the smallest group of people. They were not the best equipped people, but they were the most determined people. And they were able to possess the land one step at a time, and they were able to hold on to it because they learned how to hold on to it as they took those steps.
Right.
You know that old adage, people get a lot of money and it burns a hole in their pocket. Sometimes when you get it fast, you don't know how to keep it.
Wow.
So, easy got, easy go, slow coming, slow going.
But that's coming with training your mind.
But she said a key thing. She said sustain. And then she even went into defining that. Because I think sometimes in business or in ministry, we try to go from A to E. And we skip over those steps. And then when we get to E, we get there, but we don't know how to keep it.
Right.
And so either we start to bankrupt, or membership starts to go down because people your ministry is not as effective because you didn't take the time to learn the process. And we try to skip over that. I'm speaking for millennials out there. I know, because we want to go really quick.
Sure. My first day on the job, I want to be chairman of the board.
Yes.
Which is great if that happens, if that comes along. But I call it roots and wings.
Mm-hmm.
And millennials want wings.
Roots and wings.
Roots and wings. But you have to be able to grow roots to be able to sustain your growth.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the step by step process.
Yes.
I take one step. I learn that process. I understand where that's going. I plant my roots down. All right, then I take the next step. Suppose I blow it. Well, I'm just going right back to my first step. I don't have far to go. I don't have to throw out everything and start all over again. I just missed a step. So now I step back, regroup, relearn, and then I move forward trying again.
So step back, relearn, and move forward again. I think that's anything that we do. The example you gave, how we start and stop, anything that we take on, and going back to roots and wings. Let's talk about foundation.
Yeah.
So when I think about foundation, and even whatever category you want to put it in, whether it be an athlete who is in college, that's aspiring to be in an NFL, whether you have, your example was a minister. We have a very own stroke survivor where she went into therapy, the foundation was, they knew where they wanted you to go, but they had to build the foundation first to get you to that next level. Right. So when we think about foundation and going right back around to small steps to a big God, I think about your foundation. Can we talk about, Bishop, I just want to just the listeners to hear your heart, how it didn't just start overnight for you. Right. I mean, I'm not going to say the age, but I just think that you've been around the mountain, through the woods.
Sure. Foundations are very good. And that's a part of the step-by-step process, because as soon as you achieve that one step and then you go reach for the next one,
yes.
that then becomes the foundation process for you. That's it.
Yes.
And then you build on top and build on top. Everybody didn't start out with a great foundation.
Right.
And blessed to be. And I think it's not just the foundation, but the people around you. If the people around you are positive, they are affirming, pushing you,
yes.
then that's great. But everybody didn't start out with a great foundation. But you can want it. You can strive for it. You can go reach it. I tell people over and over again, it doesn't matter where you start out is where you end up.
That's
counts.
right. That's
so
right.
Jesus started out in a trough.
Come on now. Come on.
In
Come
a
on.
cave,
The stinky one.
and he ended up at the right hand of the Father.
Right.
And so the woman at the well, that's what Journey to the Well is.
Yes.
The woman at the well started out hiding from her community, going to the well at the hottest hour of the day because her reputation wasn't that good. Her character wasn't all that straight. But Jesus met her where she was. Right. Talked to her about what she knew. She knew about water. All right, you understand water? Let's go to the next step. What's the next step? Living water. Okay, so it's a step-by-step process to transformation.
Yes.
And those steps become the foundation. So even if you didn't get it starting out,
yes.
all right, then you can still achieve it in your lifetime.
There's someone. Go ahead.
So, Bishop, what would you say? Because I got a lot of questions on where do I start? Because people will see, they'll see us, oh, you have a team, you're here, you're there. So what would you tell that person that's watching on Facebook Live right now that's like, where do I go? How do I get that support system? Or how do I get to that next level?
For millennials, let's start there with millennials. For millennials, they already have, let's say, the basics of building a team, because you tweet, you Twitter, you Snapchat, you Instagram, you're already creating a community that's following you, that's with you. That's missing from my generation. The things that you share online, we would never share. Some stuff stayed at home. There's some things you just would not say. But now in the millennial age, everything is up for grabs. Transparency is your authentic, your authenticity card. If there is such a word. That's right. It's your pass card. It's your badge. It is your business card. Authentic, transparent, and real. And so you already have that. So you begin to build your dream team from those who connect with you, follow you, understand you, and do that. Just begin with what you have. People ask me all the time, I want to write a book, but I don't know where to begin. It begins with writing.
Right.
You know, it just be put something on the page. Well, suppose I don't like it. You just keep putting it on the page until it starts to make sense. And then, you know, you rearrange it so that others can read it and make sense. If you just say to yourself, just write a page a day. You know, this book, The Big Deal of Taking Small Steps, started actually in 2008. When I went to my millennials and I'm saying, I wanna participate where you're participating. I want to be in the internet world. I want to be in the digital world because I finally figured it out. It was more than showing pictures of what you ate for breakfast or where you were last night. All right. I finally figured it out. It wasn't a toy, it's a tool. If it's a tool, I can use that tool. And if I'm called to preach, I am. If I'm called to pastor, I am. If I'm called to minister to other people, and I am, then I can use this tool to coach people from afar, to mentor people from afar, to share the gospel, to share the scripture, to preach. And people have responded back and said, oh, you don't know, but you're mentoring me from afar by what you share. So once I figured that out, I started my podcast. This is your wake up call online.com. And so from that, every morning I wrote a meditation. Every morning I shared. And after about 5 years, I say, whoop, here's the book.
This for our Facebook Live audience. There's Bishop McKenzie's app. You can find it on your particular store, whether Android or your app store. Find it, download it, read it. Find it, download it, read it. But you said something, Bishop, in regards to mentorship.
And let me, because I don't want to skip over that, because she talked about the steps, but she also talked about connection. And for, I know, just speaking for most millennials, and I tell Reverend this all the time, what we long for is relationship. So we know how to get on social media and put everything out there. What we don't know is how to build from sharing that transparency.
Yes.
To get the team.
And that's why I want to say, touchdown, you're in the right place at the right time. The first chapter in the book is called Connect. How to connect to a power outside yourself. And when you make that connection, it increases your ability to connect with other people. What happened is that we have allowed this tool to stand between us and other people. So it's easy to relate to somebody I don't know and I don't see. Real relationship means that I have to get to know you and you have to get to know. It's trust. It's being honest. It is your integrity. It's that I trust you to tell my story to you, but I also trust you ain't going to tell it to everybody else. And so relationship is a two-way street. And we have to walk together, learn together, grow together, and respect each other in relationship. I've said it for the last 30 years. The church is the last place in this culture where you can learn relationships. You used to learn it at home with parents who taught you how to relate to each other. When that started to unravel, you learned it at school. Your teachers were not just the purveyors of information, wisdom, and knowledge. They taught you how to sit up straight and how to speak correctly and how to act and interact. Boys don't hit girls. Don't you remember that in school? Hopefully you got that in school. You know, boys don't hit girls, you know, and girls, you don't do that either. And so when that started to unravel, then other groups came in to take the place of those institutions, like gangs. You know, it would be, oh, who wants to be a gang? Terrible. But that became the family outside of the institution of family and parenting and outside of the school. They started looking for relationships. Now, that relationship may be based on a negative, unproductive process, but it was the only relationship that they could find. We have an opportunity in church to build positive relationships. It's what we do. It's what preachers do. We help people build a relationship with God.
And it starts with the small steps.
It starts with the small steps. Just come to worship. Start there. If I could just start there. Then you come to Bible study. Why Bible study? Because worship helps you to get in. Bible study teaches you why you're in the first place. And then how to live in it forever. Service then is the manifestation of my relationship. I serve because out of the love of God, I have to respond to the issues that I see in my community. If I'm to love my neighbor as I love myself, then my love is the food bank. My love is the homeless shelter. My
That's right.
love
The
is
service.
mentoring another child. I express my love and my faith relationship in real, tangible ways. And so that's why I say, touchdown. You know, the sacred space that we call church, that worship center, is basically the last place where we learn how to relate to God and to relate to each other.
And that's so key. And I think we're all vibing because we're talking about millennials and relationships. We're talking about mentorship. We started out with foundation. But I think when it comes to the full circle of all of it is what we look to, what we gravitate to, whereas Bishop's circle may not be necessarily be your circle, vice versa. But when we look at this totality, if we just reach one person and that person reach their person in their circle, and then it just spreads like a wildfire. That's why I think this book is so key. Big, it's a big deal. It really is a big deal because truth be told, there's some millennials that are spiritual but can care less about church. They can care less about going into a church building. They want a relationship. They want a relationship with God, and some may have a relationship with God that needs to be nurtured, and they really don't know how because there's a trust factor that has been destroyed, and they rather not go there to get it. So if you have
That's
someone,
what I was getting ready to
yes,
ask
ma'am,
about.
press hand.
So many people have been hurt by the church, so they don't want to go. And then another thing you look at, we talk about building relationship, because I was always taught you go to church to build a relationship, not just with God, but with the people that's at church. But how about a lot of people go to church online now? I feel like, the church has made it easy where, you just get online and you go to church and that's it, and rely on online church.
They do, and it's a part of our digital age, and it is a tool. It is a tool where you can get the gospel and the worship experiences to other people that you may never see and you may never know.
Right.
But I just contend that that is just not the only way for you to make that connection. Nothing beats flesh and blood contact.
So the digital age, you open the door to the digital age because there's the audio version.
That's right. There's an audio book. You can download it from Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble or anywhere books are sold. You can do that. So we are in the digital age, but I always contend there's nothing like a hug.
Right.
If I had a room full of men and women, let's say 100 people, and I said, how many of you had a hug today?
That's right.
I'd say only a quarter of them would raise their hands.
Wow.
And what the psychologists tell us that we have to have at least 7 hugs a day to feel human. I said there's nothing like a touch. There's nothing like a handshake. There's nothing like a hug. Nothing like a pat on the back. That's real.
And that's why just changing gears with that. The power of a hug. Talking about touch. And bringing in the big deal of taking small steps and the power of a hug, the power of touch. When we look at from a social justice, not necessarily social justice, but when we look from a criminal justice perspective, solitary confinement is one of the strictest ways of punishing someone. But it's strict to me because you're cut off. And anytime I can be cut off maybe for a day from society and have my alone time. But can you imagine those who are going weeks and months at a time in solitary confinement? So, what they have to do with small steps toward God. I believe, Bishop, if we want to talk to this point, that when we're confined, solitary confinement, being alone, and the power of a touch, how taking small steps to reach God, we will be touched in a different way that will equip us to get over the church hurt, that will equip us to love people through those small steps that we take through your book.
Small steps in the right directions will make big change. But go back to what you said, solitary confinement. You speak of in the criminal justice framework.
Yes.
But when you refuse to go to be around a sacred space, or be in a sacred space, you are now in solitary confinement.
Yes.
You become your own authority. That's right. You become your own authority about what prayer, worship, whatever. But you are not in an affirming environment that affirms your belief process. but also confronts when you go too far to the right or too far to the left, or you drop off the radar, the spiritual radar screen in the first place.
Right.
How dangerous is that?
It's
I
very
think
dangerous.
That's when the local church steps in, and I attend a large church, and I love them, but it's the small groups that get me through. And you talked about solitary confinement. I know in my age group and in the younger age group, we are so quick to get to our phones. We won't engage each other.
Come
We
on.
won't have a conversation. So I feel
Be in
like
church on the
even though
phone.
we're free, we're still in confinement.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's sometimes I'm just being Kim right now. So it's just sometimes when we step into the church, or even when we step into the crowd, not just the church, when we step into the crowd, we just don't know how to reach out to each other. It's so funny. I could sit next to someone and inbox them on Facebook and have a whole conversation, but not say anything to them in person.
Because it's uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Anytime something becomes uncomfortable, then I go to what is safe.
Yeah.
I go to what is safe. There are experts who will tell you that when the world changes very quickly and rapidly to go pop, 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 people need to have islands of safety, islands of security to retreat to hold them while things are changing until they figure out how they're going to manage that change, accept that change. And so the cell phone, your inbox, the tweet, the Facebook is avoidance. I can avoid this conversation. I can avoid how I feel. I can avoid this stress. I'm just going right here. I can avoid this. You know,
That is so very powerful. We're going to take a short break. We're talking about the big deal of taking small steps to move closer to God. It's something about those small steps and being intentional about those small steps. Being intentional. We're going to hear Travis Green with Intentional, and we'll be right back.